it's a bit surreal for me because I used to watch you play for the team I love, Southampton.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me, and I know Ruddy Jaidi, because I used to do one-to-ones with his boy as well. He's going to have a chat with me as well, because I don't want to just use this as like a holiday. I want to learn something. I want to learn about football and coaching. I mean, I've had a reasonably good experience. I mean, I was in an academy from 8 till 16. Any sort of experience and knowledge that you can help with coaching, with football for my under 12s as well, because I know at the minute I'm doing a lot of work with my under 12s on Zoom. I'm sending them out videos, and and I think they're finding it hard to keep motivated, but they've really bought into it. I don't know why they've bought into me. I don't. Maybe I'm younger. Maybe I'm more relatable.
I think it's good that you're young. I think that helps. It's funny with I think because you are as well. You're in this PlayStation age where when a lot of these youngsters, when they're not successful in what they do, they have this PlayStation thing. They turn it off and start again.
Yeah.
But that's not life really. Life kind of goes in stages, and you are kind of a stepping stones. You're on the staircase.
Yeah.
Every new step you take, you learn something. Well, the PlayStation generation, they don't. If they don't succeed, they just turn it off.
Yeah.
And then they start again and reset. Maybe a good thing, but they learn to give up a little bit quick.
Yeah.
And if they're not successful, they teach themselves that I can just turn it off and start again. So, but I think it's good that you're young. I think with because I see in some of you and Jake when you do your sessions and online and in the kitchen, so that was really good. It wouldn't have worked with the under 16s because they're too big.
Yeah.
But it's what you can do, and they seem to be interested in it. And you have so many things you can teach them because you obviously play futsal and you are what you get is you are into football.
Yeah.
And you can't fake that. If you're not into football, you can't fake it.
No, that's the good thing. Football's my life. Is whether it's watching Saints, whether it's going down to St Mary's, whether it's playing and coaching. I fell in love with ever since I got released. So it's something that I don't think I'm ever going to fall out of love with. I mean, there's times where you dislike the sport. There's times where I've gone, why do I play this? Or sometimes it's been, why do I support Saints? I always used to be a bit like that when we...
Yeah, but we all have. Yeah. I have that as well. And you've done something which I haven't done. I've never been to an academy again, so...
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about an academy life. So you learn something there, which... I don't like the academies. I don't believe in them. I think they are on the wrong path. But that's my opinion. I think they got better over the years, but So let's put it in another way. When I was young, I didn't know I was going to be a good football player. I just played for fun.
Yeah.
But what I know now is that if I had someone like myself teaching me when I was younger, I probably would have got to where I got to a lot quicker.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how I see myself now. That some of those things I went past. But again, I've done other things in my life which probably helped me become more secure or more confident, or especially when you come to learning about pressure or stress, which is in football, you're under pressure. There's a stress situation, and I learned techniques to deal with real life things. Like I'm trained as an officer in the Air Force. I'm fully trained as a policeman in Norway and worked as a policeman. And those things I learned very quickly that I could relate a lot of that outside football.
Right.
That helped me into football. And because of that, my confidence was a lot higher because I was able to have kind of mechanism to what should I say, to react to stress though in the right way. And and that's where a lot of youngsters, and that's why I say about the PlayStation age as well. I think that's where they're not learning anything. They're not having strategies how to learn to deal with stress, because that's what football is. Football is putting you under pressure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because I come over and watch your under 16s a bit, don't I, after my sessions, and it's clear to see then that they buy into you because of your experience, and from my point of view, they do because of, and I think it helps sometimes, like you were saying with the academy, that if you're doing a demo or if you're trying to explain something, you've got the ability to back it up because you could show them what to do.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to back myself up, but I believe that I could demo everything I say. Or at least try and do it, and I think that's a good thing as well. My nephew plays for Southampton under-10s. He's the academy down there, and I do worry about him because I know everything I went through in academy. As long as he's enjoying it and as long as he loves football, which he does, I will always support him and take him there. I know obviously a lot of players that went through the academy. So I played with James Ward-Prowse for 5 years. I spoke to him Saturday night because he asked about my mum. And for me, he's the example. I don't know what you think of him, but for me, he's the example that every kid at RTC should look to be like. Not just his footballing ability, but his attitude, his work rate. He's in that, like you say, generation of Xbox and PlayStation, but he never played it. He was so focused. No matter who we played, his attitude was exactly the same. And I think I heard you on commentary on Solent talk about him. Because I listened to you that day instead of the Sky Sports thingy. So I played you instead of the Sky Sports commentators. And for me, he's the person. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I know him, but I think he's the best role model any kid can have for this age.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. He's a good role model because you can see he has worked extremely hard to get where he is. Yeah. You can see that comes with attitude. So no doubt about that, because he is definitely one that you could easily have dismissed or fallen out of the game, and that's what it is. It's a little bit of determination. It's about being. It's a little bit of luck, a little bit of being on the right place at the right time, and. I started playing football where we play now in the Basics League.
Yeah. And
from there to the top league, there are steps, and they're quite steep steps, but it isn't that far up there. And if you believe it, believe me, I went through like a rocket up to the top level. I could not believe how quickly I could get there. I know why, some of the things why I got there, but then you feel like the steps, when you start taking those steps become smaller and smaller and smaller, and before you know it, you reach a level which you had no clue you can reach, and that's sometimes where you live with Ward-Prowse as well, where he has obviously had the right attitude all the way and believed he can go on to the next thing, and he's obviously believed I can be that good, and he's still developing. I think he's developed loads,
especially under Ralph. I think he's someone I look at as a coach, not just as a manager, but you can look and almost I'll try and take a little bit of him when I watch him. And my dad had a long chat with him at a presentation night. My dad goes down to presentation nights, and he just said it just talking to him inspires you. He said he's so emotionally invested.
Because you can see when I liked with him, when he was put under pressure and he played right back or left back, did he? And he was put on the wing. It didn't bother him. He just took it on, which is so good to see. And that's a prime example. That's what you want to see from someone with the right attitude. And he learned. He wasn't faced. He just I can learn something from playing up, and I can make me a better player for where I normally play. So, and you can see that on him. So no, I totally agree. And it's nice, because it's not easy getting through the academy and get from the academy into the.
So is that where you see yourself? Do you want to coach in the academy? Is that where you want to go?
I did my UFRB a little bit late. I have never been too keen on coaching really. I knew I could do it, but I took it. And for me, the UFRB was a waste of time. I didn't learn anything. I was by far the most experienced football player where I went. I took it in Norway.
Yeah.
So I was there. I was more like an instructor in the end.
Right.
And it was so simple and so basic for me that I didn't learn anything. because you get a written task in the end you have to do and deliver.
Yeah.
I did everything from the top of my head.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I just answered all the questions from the top of my head. I didn't look up one thing. So I'm more experienced than the coach, or the instructors there.
Yeah, well, that's
so
crazy.
Like one of the instructors said, well, what am I going to teach you? You have far more experience with football than I have. So, but I know him. He's kind of, I knew him, and I knew him from before. He's also kind of far into my some of my relatives, but far into back in my relatives. So he said, he enjoyed having me there because what I tried to do is give a lot of myself to the others who were there, which hadn't played at my level, and he was very happy with that I could do that. So, but he said it's a year for Jo. It's a course you're going to pass. Your football knowledge is way ahead of you. It's what you do afterwards which is important. So I didn't do that, but I started when I started coaching. I took over Tottenham Ealing.
Yeah.
A little bit back in time, and I went to Kevin Braybrook. No, not Kevin Braybrook. Kevin Dorothy. I don't know if you know. He coached them, and he was manager.
Okay.
So I came in and said, "I'll coach every session," and I said, I'm just going to try it. I'll see how it works out for me, whether I enjoy it or not. I said, I'll coach and do all the tactics. You can pick the players.
Okay.
So I did. He was the manager. He picked the teams, and I just did everything else.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I knew I could, but I just wanted to see if I enjoyed it, and I wanted to see if I could get them to enjoy it, which they did. And we did win the league. But we had over 100 points that season when we went from Essex 1 to the Premier. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. But I thought, okay, I'll do the course because I know you got to have the paper.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone on the UFA course. I've been invited by the Norwegian FA to go on it, but I haven't because you basically have to be running a first team football team or a little bit higher up in the divisions, or you have to be at an academy. Yeah. I haven't done that yet, so we'll see. But I applied to Saints because I did a lot of things for Saints Academy. I came in there and I helped out a little bit. And I spoke to guys. I wouldn't mind coming in there and coaching and we were like on the understanding that I would. Yeah. And I do like the club, so I do want to help the club, and that was my intention. I wanted to come in there, and I made it clear that I want to work here because it used to be a good academy, but I also think it's important that you have former players that has a feeling for the club, because when you have a feeling, you're more authentic. You what you give is because you believe in the club. Yeah. And that's so important, because if you're there just to do a job and bugger off afterwards, and you lose that factor. They know I care for the club, and that's why I wanted to go there. And that's how I always been in my career. I always cared for what I've done. So, and that's why I haven't had many clubs on my CV in a way. But I've been to a few good clubs. But instead of swapping around like a lot of players just to get a new, and sometimes you got to do it to play, but. Unfortunately, I didn't get in there, and that's fine. That's their choice, and I have no problem with that. But it's a little bit strange. But that's how it started with Saints, though. So, and I know there's a new guy that's come in there now, Matt Crockery, who's become a director there, and he used to work with back in the days with Dodsey and Paul Williams and a few of the other players, and he loved having former players there. He saw how much of that benefit it had. And he also knows that a lot of the ex-Saints players, they care a lot for the club, and they give 100% when they come in there. So he has come in, but he's had a big job role, and you obviously have COVID, and it's been a bit delayed. So I've spoken a little bit with him.
Well, that's a good thing, because I know my nephew's down there, and I know he really likes it when he speaks to the first team players, because they do get them to talk to him sometimes. He does meet a couple of them, and because he's had my experiences as well, and I try and help him, but I don't want to put too much on him. When I was at Swindon, because Swindon was where I spent all my time at academy, and when the first team players spoke to you, or even ex players, so the managers of Swindon first team when I was there was Gus Poyet and Dennis Wise. So they did a joint manager there.
I know Dennis. I know Dennis. We're very good friends. So I know him. I know Gus as well. I don't know him myself. I know Dennis, but it's fantastic, just the experience, and that's where the academy kind of have changed a little bit at Southampton. It's become a little bit too separate. When I was there, it was so much tighter. The younger players had more access. They were in the same. We ate together. They were there. It wasn't always that you spoke to them, but you trained with them sometimes.
Yeah.
And obviously, I trained with Theo. I trained with Alex.
Yeah.
I trained with who else? Brian Howard was there.
Okay.
But just coming in and being there and being around them, it was a lot closer. You were kind of pushed down to train with them a lot quicker before, if you, which was good. If you were out or injured, you went in and you trained with them, and it was good for them, but it was also good for you. So, and I think that's been separated a lot more now. The last couple of years, it's become like you there, and also because the academy has been different from the first team.
Yeah.
Because the academy likes to drive themselves instead of being too much of an impact with the first team, in case they sack their manager and things like that. So
yeah, so the under-16s, when I went there last, I took my nephew to his training, and the under-16s came in the Dome. The under-16s is a massive year. It's a big age group. They're turning into little men at that age.
Yeah, and I'm like brutal with the under-16s because I say if you can't play men's football when you're 16, I don't think you're going to make it in the top league.
No, and like when I came and trained with you, and I stepped in for 10 minutes, and you said about me talking and communicating, something as basic as that and scanning, that should almost be natural for a leader or for players at that age, I believe. So because it was very quiet in that session when I joined in, wasn't it? It was very quiet.
And it was actually good when you came in because you showed them exactly what I've been trying to make them do. And like you did when they played, and I think they realised that afterwards. It's like, by talking, you made your teammates better. And that's something I work at with the under-16s. I worked a lot with that, and it's not coming through yet. They don't get it. They don't get it how important it is to talk in the right times, not tell them off when they've done something wrong, because that's what they see on TV. They see when someone makes a mistake. That's when they see people talk.
Yeah.
And forget all the time saying, that was actually brilliant that you came in and did what you did, because they can, George is doing this.
Yeah. So what coach would you say you learnt the most of when you played at Saints? Manager, coach? What?
Who was the best coach you asked?
Yeah, and manager.
How many did I have? 8 in 6 years.
Jesus. Were you there with Strachan?
That was the best. Yeah, I was there with Strachan. I am football coach wise by a million mile, and I think most of the lads will say this. It's called Glenn Hoddle.
Glenn Hoddle, okay.
Yeah, by a million mile, he was much better tactically. He because he's playing such a high level game. And again, because every time he said something, it made sense.
Yeah.
And when it makes sense, you get the respect automatically. Because he every time came in half time and he could do small things tactically to change the team, and it worked. People knew straight away he's got my respect because he knows what he's doing. And also his football sessions and physically, and you knew he was on. In my eyes, he changed his era, even though it was there for a short period, changed the club from what it used to be to suddenly become a more professional club. So he was the first stepping stone because when I arrived, I came there with Dave Jones, and it was like there was no tactics, there was nothing. And he was a nice guy. He was a really nice guy. He was a football guy. He looked after the players really well, but he had a little note in his hand before the games, and there wasn't any tactics. And it was just all they said: don't care about fans, do your job, run around, have fun, good luck, and that's it.
Okay.
And that was his tactics. With Hoddle, it changed from preparation, it changed from tactical awareness, it changed from fitness, and everything came with him. And because he was so spot on tactically, but also training wise. Our training sessions suddenly became 2.5 to 3 hours long.
Yeah.
It became more fitness related. Before that, it was just shocking. I came from a club that played Champions League, and I came to Southampton, which before the new academy is there now, it had like dog kennels, which was changed into changing rooms. There wasn't even a gym there. So I came from a club in Norway, which is a lot smaller than Premier League, but at least next door to our changing rooms there was a massive gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And they played in the Premier League, and I was like, it can't be possible. But that changed with Hoddle. It changed very quickly, and what it is now is unbelievable. So.
It is unbelievable now. When I go down there, it's in shock. Because I played against Saints at the academy. Even it's improved so much in about 10, 12 years. So I can't imagine what it's like from when you played to now.
I was shocking when I was there. It was absolutely shocking. But I think it started with Glenn Hoddle, and Glenn Hoddle was by far the best manager down there of the 8 I had. Unfortunately, he left for Tottenham, which I think he regret doing that. But he said, "It's my home club. I have no choice," and that's how he put it.
That's fair enough. What would you? I've only got a few questions written down just to the top of my head, just because I wanted to know some stuff. Would you love to play under Ralph? Because I feel like Ralph would be the perfect manager for me to play under, just because sometimes I do need to kick up the arse.
You know what? I think he's shown from last season when they were. So if you go before Christmas last year, they lost all the games. They looked like a side that was going to go down.
Yeah.
And then he suddenly changed something, and he changed the formation. He changed it to 4-4-2. He stopped playing 3 in the middle, which didn't work.
Yeah.
He obviously worked on the defensive side. He worked on fitness. So you can see he did all the things he had to do, and suddenly they won so many games. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was lucky, because I think if they hadn't had Danny Ings that year, I don't think they would have. He was the one that kept going, scoring, even though they lost a lot of games. And without him, I don't think they would have been able to turn it around. But he showed that he was able to, because he didn't want to play 4-4-2.
Yeah.
But he did, because he knew he had to. And that shows strength in my eyes. That's not a weakness, that's a strength that he actually realised. It didn't work with Romeo, Ward-Prowse and Højbjerg in the middle. It didn't work.
Yeah.
There was no system. They looked like bad players, all 3 of them. And now you see that they changed it around. For Ward-Prowse and Romeo, it's just changed the whole thing. They look like football players now. They didn't before Christmas. So he knew he had to do something. It did not work with the 3 in the middle. They were too similar, I think. So, and the other thing he was very good at, which shows intelligence for me as a manager, he managed to put all the quick players in the most vital positions. So because he had quite a few players with pace, and he managed to do that. He put them in the right positions, and then they became a threat. And that is so important in football, when you can threaten people with pace. Yeah, and that has changed the team. And I think he realised that he realised that Shankland came in and played more, because what was his name again? The other striker who didn't score last year,
Adams. Yeah.
He didn't. The Premier League was too big for him.
Yeah,
and it took him too long. He let him play too long, and in the end, he took him off and rested him and kept him off, and then he learned, and you can see he's benefited from that this year, because he's been a lot better. So, but he kept playing him because it was a big, expensive signing, and sometimes that could, if you can get away from that, and I think that shows the strength in you as a manager as well. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Ralph. I think.
I am as well. I know he's showed character by that he's a good coach.
I think other than Nigel Adkins, because I'm trying to think of the first manager I really remember. Strachan was my first one in my head that I remember, because I went to the FA Cup final. at Millennium Stadium. That's one of my first big memories. And then Nigel Adkins almost got us back to a team where we belong, I think. And then Pochettino came in, and he made us into a winning side. Koeman took us to Europe, and then we had that process or stage that every team goes through for a couple of years where, you know, it's not going right, and obviously we sold players and you can't always get that back. And then I think Hasenhüttl has been absolutely brilliant.
Unfortunately, he's so good that you know he's not going to stay there long.
Yeah, that's the thing that hurts most as a Saints fan. And as someone who's, unfortunately, I let Saints affect my life too much. Me and my dad have always been like that. I was grumpy after Saturday night. It always means too much to us. I don't know why. I guess it's when you support a team for so long.
I think it's a combination. I think the one thing with Saints is, and I know this as well, because I didn't have an agent, so I used to do my own stuff when I met the chairman on my contract negotiations. And I went to see Ruben Love, who was the chairman when I was there. And I said to him, we spoke about things, and I learned a lot about the club. And he was very clear. He said, we will never be able to win the Premier League because we can't afford it.
Yeah.
And he was also clear how much he could pay maximum in normal wages for each player.
Yeah.
And I know they've gone over that now. I know the TV rights and the TV money has gone higher. They have a lot more to spend, but still, they are on the brink of running the club. And I know they are now as well, because they are spending too much money on wages. And because of that, they have to be a selling club.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate.
And that's more important that the club survives than they're keeping good players. They couldn't afford to keep money. They couldn't afford to keep Van Dijk and players like that. You can see now where they're gone, how good they are, and where they started. So it's just the way it is. It's a selling club, and managers are not protected by that in any means. They know if they get a good offer, they have to take it.
I agree, and it's sort of, I think when Mane left, I sort of just, and Van Dijk left, I resigned to the fact that that is what I support. And there's players that give you hope, like Ward-Prowse. I hope he stays, and he almost is like a bit like a Benali or a Matt Letizia that played their whole season. Because I think he could be not on the level. He's never going to be as good as Matt Letizia. But what I mean is he could have that status, as in, he could be like Mr. Southampton, because you see, like...
Yeah, I think he's on his way. The only criticism he has in his game probably is his pace.
Yeah.
He is quick, but he hasn't got that extreme pace, but he's got everything else. So as long as you have one skill, and he has more than one skill, but the pace thing is always the one that's going to make you the extraordinary player. And I think maybe that's why he hasn't been sold, or other clubs are looking at him because they're not sure that we maybe have similar players to do the same thing in terms of free kicks. But again, you look at Beckham. You can compare him with Beckham, who are similar type players. Maybe Beckham was a little bit quicker. Maybe that took him a little bit further. Maybe a little bit bigger. That always counts in. So. But other than that, he has all the same attributes as Beckham had.
I think Hasenhüttl also got his aggression into his game as well. Because Puel hardly ever played him, and then Pellegrino hardly ever played him. Mark Hughes, he was barely in and out of the team, and then Ralph comes in and almost puts faith in him and says what he needs to do to go to the next level. And I think if you look at, I know stats aren't everything, but if you look at stats before Hasenhüttl came in and since he's been at Hasenhüttl, I think he's gone not just one level, 2, 3 levels up in his game.
I totally agree, and he has also put him into the right position now, which suits the way he on the pitch, and you can see it's natural for him. It's not forced; it's natural what he does, and that kind of identifies a good player because he's relaxed with it. He's not stressed about it. That's where. You know, when you're on the pitch, when you are on the pitch yourself, when you're in one position that you like being in,
yeah,
everything becomes positive, in your mind. and you know if you have to play a different position which you don't like, you find yourself in kind of a lot of negative situations which you don't want. So, and I think that's where he is now. He is like, where he plays, that's his positive mind. He's free in a way. He can do what he is natural for.
Yeah, I have questions about. So my under 12s, right? There's a couple of players, and there's one that's just been scouted by Chelsea, and there's a couple that are. I always try and stop it a little bit, but there's a couple that want to get into academies and they're set on being a footballer. Obviously, I can give them advice because I got scouted from a young age, but I was in academy from first age group. I didn't join under 12s, so. And I know you didn't necessarily go through that, but I sort of just, I think advice from you, especially as majority of them are Saints fans. I know they might not be able to remember you, but as in the playing days, but their dads do.